Okay, the Piatt family does have a background of supposedly being abolitionists and helping runaway slaves. Elizabeth Barnett Piatt, who lived at a place they now call the Pioneer House, her family moved there in 1828, and at that time she still had two young sons living with her. That would be the ones who ended up building the castles, Abram and Don. And supposedly, since her husband was a federal judge, she wanted to help the slaves who were on their way north to Canada to be free along the Underground Railroad, but her husband, being a federal judge, of course, couldn't endorse that, and while he was away, she would put a flag in the hand of a stable boy statue. It was actually a hitching post where you tie your horse, and when the judge was gone, the flag was there to alert the Underground Railroad conductors and the slaves that that was a safe place to stay. In the house there is a back room in the upstairs that was behind a panel that is where people who have owned it said that that's where she kept the slaves. Now whether that's true or not, we have no way of knowing, but so anyway, when the judge came home, she would take the flag out of the hand of the statue, and then it would not be safe to stay there. We don't know whether the judge knew about it and just would let her know ahead of time he was coming home so she could get the flag out, or whether he actually did not approve, and you know, that's something we don't know. But the story's been handed down through the Piatt family. I operated and helped at the castles, which were turned into a tourist destination about 100 years ago. They've been giving guided tours through there. And so this was a story that was told while I was there. It had been passed down that far to me, and we told it, of course, to our tourists, and so they have heard this story for years too, and of course it may have gotten changed over the years. But the Piatt family, having opened the castles to the public back in the 19-teens, several generations passed that story along, even from back then, and it was the grandson who opened it, Elizabeth Barnett's grandson. So he probably was the one who started telling the story, and it was passed down, you know, 2 generations to him. So how much fact and how much fiction, it's hard to say, but the judge did help. We have one recollection that said that he did help his cousins from Kentucky whose slaves had run away to recapture them. So that was another thing that, you know, maybe he felt the same way as his wife about slavery, and maybe he didn't. But there's really no way of knowing for sure since records weren't kept.